Welcome back. Uh, so, um, let us get back into it. Okay, so I went back to this, and I guess I was having a problem with this whole thing about the plot points and all that. And now, after I had some time away from it, now that I'm rereading it and redefining stuff, it's kind of making sense a little bit more here. So, yeah, I guess I can still work on Max's whole like his backstory like I'm doing and his plot outline because what he's going to try to do is um, he's going to try to finish his machine. He's building a machine that's going to open a portal to every realm, every different realm that connects to Enchanted Lands, so that he can march armies into there and he can control their lands. And so um, he needs massive amounts of quicksilver. Um, uh, he needs to build the machine. He needs to have people to build the machine. So he needs slaves to work the mines and build the machine. And he needs armies to march through them. And I might even should be writing this down or typing it out or whatever. But I'm just kind of trying to go through um, through this thing with you, um, with me, myself, or with my audience or whatever. If you're watching this, thanks for watching, by the way. Even though I know it's not the end. Okay, so basically, he's going to have a plan now. There's a couple of things. I've said this before. I'll probably say it again many more times. I want to reiterate. Um, this probably isn't going to be a problem for people that don't watch these videos. Uh, you know, it's just going to be a problem for somebody wanting me to make my game a certain specific way, which is I'm going to allow you to play the major bad guys, but they're not going to win. They're the bad guy, and you good against evil. That's that's what I like. That's the stories I like. You can have your bittersweet ending if you want. You can have it where you're reversed and the bad guys are the good guys, like the Fast and the Furious, right? Those guys are criminals, but they get away with it and even get paid and all this stuff. But this is just the way I'm doing it. This is the way I like to do it. Um, so your decisions on behalf of Max is not going to change the story. Remember that adventure games are primarily story based. RPGs are story based too, but they have this thing of stats, and they got these battles, and they got side quests, and you can make it really heavily story driven, but at the same time, it's more of an open format. In other words, you could make it more sandboxy a little bit, to where they could spend their whole time just doing side quests, or they could they could play a villain and decide how their choices affect the story or whatever. I mean, you can do that. In this, I mean, you could do it in an adventure game if you want to, but that's not my deal. My deal is I like movies. I like interactive movies, like the old games. And I know this is interactive. I know it's not it's not uh, I know it's not a movie. It's not a book. I get that. It's not supposed to be linear, in the sense that you're just going, one thing right after the other. But at the same time, that's what I really liked at playing. When you're watching a movie, you want to see what happens next, right? When you read a book, you want to read what happens next. sometimes you want to read the thoughts of your characters, and it gets descriptions of things and that. This is kind of the same way. Um, when I play an adventure game, as opposed to other games, um, I really like Halo 3 story about or I should say I really like Halo 2 story. Halo 3 story was good too, but Halo 2 story had you playing the Arbiter and playing Master Chief, and there's this whole thing about the leaders of the Arbiter's race. I forget what his race is called, but so there was this story about how they're basically leading everyone to destruction because they wanted to turn on the Halo rings and purge everything, and that they're fanatics and stuff. And now it's a first person shooter that has a narrative in it, and it has narrative just to kind of tie the levels together. And even some of the levels kind of tell you a little bit about the story, and that's cool and all that. But I'm not making a shooter. See, that's the thing. I'm not making a story-based action game or story-based action game. I'm making a story-based game. It's a story game. In other words, it's supposed to be done like a movie or a play or a book, except that there's the interactivity in it. And yes, majority of it you want to watch your interactivity, but when you play, those guys that do the text adventures, the quote unquote interactive fiction, they do it because they want to read what happens next. They want to affect. In a lot of cases, they want to affect their outcome, but a lot of cases, they want to interact and to be able to think through stuff. It's like think. It's a thinking game essentially, but one that's not an abstract puzzle. So you have lock and door, key and lock puzzles, and you have certain deals, and it's the intellectual side. So you hit a challenge, you overcome the challenge, you see the next part of the story, and really that's what you do in an adventure game. It's like an interactive movie, except it's like a movie where a movie you watch everything just straight through. With an adventure game, you play challenges to essentially unlock part of the movie, and that's where you get into the interactive side. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about full motion video games where you kind of pick a choice and it's like a choose your own adventure video game, where you have little challenge. Really those offer little challenge, and the difference here, even though you're playing out the story that the creator wants to do, you get to become a part of that, not necessarily to affect the ending. You can make it like that, no problem. Some people would do that. Some people would, make multiple endings depending on what choices you made or whatever. And that's cool. I have no problem with that. But I'm not doing that in my game. My game is going to be traditional. And yeah, you're going to play a lot of it. It's not going to be a ton of cutscenes. The cutscenes are going to be short, but they are going to be in there, and you're going to be rewarded by another part of the story, by a cutscene, and by a new area to explore. So basically, I'm setting up this narrative where this bad guy comes in. He does some stuff. He wants to take over everything. Our good guys stop him just in the nick of time. But the one thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to explore the villain side, not because I'm interested in villainry, being a bad guy, but just because when you watch a movie or something, usually they're just you get little snippets of what they're doing. usually it's just a setup for the next, like in an action movie, your bad guy is, blowing up a building, or telling you that there is a bomb somewhere, and John McClane has to go and find out where it is, right? And so, but the majority of your screen time is on your hero, right? In Die Hard movies, your majority of your screen time is on John McClane, and it's from his point of view. In fact, you kind of have to do it that way, in a way, because of the runtime length. You know, whereas in a game you can explore more, you can spend more time in doing it. And so, what I hope to do with allowing you to play the villains parts as well is just exploring the more complete story. So now you have, you know, um, now you have an idea of why, um, what's his name, uh, why your enemy placed a bomb somewhere. You know, maybe it was for revenge, or maybe it was for whatever. Um, but the point is you now you'll know, and whereas in some cases, in some action movies, you kind of don't know. They're just doing it just because they're after your good guy, or maybe they're playing around with them. Maybe they hate him, and your good guy has to um, learn about why are they doing this? Why do they pick on you? Why are they hurting people? And in this instance, you'll kind of know why. So that's why I'm doing the thing where you get to play each of the characters. So um, that's why I'm saying you'll be able to play Max, but you won't be able to affect his outcome. In most adventure games, you're not able to affect the outcome. Now, there's some that will allow you to do that, and they do that, and that's really cool. If you're smart enough, you can think that through. That's fine. More power to them. That's not me. I'm a narrative guy, a narrative story guy. Even though you will be interacting, so I will say again, this is a game. I know it's a game. I know it's not a piece of narrative media that you don't take, participate in. You participate in it, um, but it's still going to be the story. It's still going to have a story structure. It's still going to be this, this, and this. So, anyways, I guess that's enough for this video. We will. What are we at? We're on number 3 right now, huh? So in the next video, I will. Maybe we'll get started on Max here. I don't know. I wanted to take a break, and I wanted to kind of reorient, and I wanted to talk about, kind of reorganize my thoughts, because I'm talking. It's like that talking to the duck thing, talking to a rubber duck. When you want to work through problems, sometimes it helps to talk at something, right? So I'm talking to the audience here, anybody that's going to watch my videos, and so it's helping me gather my thoughts. And so maybe on tomorrow's videos, we'll actually go back into the character thing. I don't know, because I don't have any more background footage that I could already use some, or I can go to there's a couple of guys that have asked permission already, like GD Quest, who uses mostly Godot, but they have tutorials, so I might go ahead, and there's a couple of others that don't mind me doing it either, that maybe I'll just run their videos in the background, and while I'm talking. So anyway, stay tuned for that, and I will see you in the next video.